I think the key to a successful golf swing is how, when we transition, we feel how that right wrist is going to get loaded right here. So it's hinged. The majority of golfers, when they're coming into impact, they get the feeling on those mishits, they're working this way too much where that right wrist is casting the club into the ball, and that leaves the club face open, or the club's going to come in and catch the ball a little thin. But what we want to try and feel is how you're going to bring this lag back through with that right wrist, and then you're just going to feel the bottom of the circle. The golf swing is just nothing but a circle. And all we're trying to do is just feel where that turf is down there and be able to control that divot down there.
So Rob, when you do that flipping motion with the right hand, what does it do to your path and face?
Well, it can do a lot of things. So if we get up in here, and if you're releasing from the top, now all of a sudden that path is going to get negative coming through the ball. And so then as the path gets negative and the hands are releasing, now you're going to have a very positive face. So basically that inside out big slider cut. And so that's kind of one of the main faults that I see a lot of is right in here. If you get early, you're releasing the golf club early with that right wrist. Now that club is moving over the top. So there's your negative path. And then there's your positive face right there on the exit. And so it'll be a little bit of a scooping action where you can blade the ball low right.
Let's try to do a shot where you feel like you're flipping through the contact.
Okay. So what I'm going to feel on this is just that same thing that we just talked about, is where the wrist is going to release early, the club's going to work in over the top, negative path, and then the positive face. And ball goes high right.
So if we look at this shot here, this was, again, the path was to the left, and then you compensate with a way open face, and it's a really weak ball flight to the right. Okay, so now let's do one same swing speed, but with a good wrist action.
Okay, so here I'm going to feel that good wind up through my body. There's the turn, there's that hinge right there. So just kind of feeling the weight of the golf club. That'll do a lot of the work for you in getting this right wrist hinged. Now from here, I'm going to feel my arm path drop through the ball, being able to maintain that right wrist angle. That really helps create that positive path, negative face.
So for the right-handed golfer, then here we have the nice little draw action on demand. Thank you very much, Rob. So the positive path of 3/8 and the face being shut, so that gives us a nice little draw curve that came right back into the target. So should I try to set that wrist on the takeaway, or wouldn't it make sense to try to set that right wrist right at setup?
There's a lot of theories to that. My feeling is that if it's a little bit of a shorter shot, you can go ahead and almost preset that wrist. I like the idea of using body rotation to get a little bit of a wider type of arc, where when you use the body rotation, you can see how wide that arc is right there. Too often I see mishits happen in golfers where the hands get active, where they're trying to get that angle there and then turn from there. But I like the idea of like on a shorter chip shot where that wrist is hinged early and then just turning the body through from there. So hinge, turn. So that way that angle is set early. On a longer shot, probably getting a little bigger turn, a little bigger wind up, and then using a little bit more, almost like a whip effect, where if you were to snap a whip, you'd have a wide angle here in the wrist, and then in the transition, that wrist is going to get cocked right there, and then that's going to bring in a little bit more speed coming back into the ball. So now one of the keys that you want to remember when you're hinging early, you want to make sure that the wrist is hinging and that it's not rolling. So you can see the difference in that swing path. So if I turn, there's the hinge. The purpose of that hinge, you can see that it's actually lining up the shaft right there to the golf ball. If you get the wrist rolling on the backswing. And then you can see that the shaft is really flat. The butt of the club's pointing way off to the right. Now this angle here is going to be way too positive on the path coming in, and that's where you're going to catch a lot of those balls a little bit more off the hosel.
Oh, the dreaded hosel shot, the hosel rockets. Okay, so when I am working on my takeaway, kind of what do I want to see looking on the down the line video when the shaft is parallel? Where do you like to see the club face?
See, I like to feel like my setup position is going to be moved through my core rotation. So as I rotate through the core, you can see that address position basically is just going right straight back, and you can see I just basically just readdress the golf club. So good turn there, and then from there you feel that hinge right there. That gets the angle of the shaft going to the target line like that. Now from there you can see that that right wrist is loaded right there. So you're going to feel that lag coming back into the golf ball like that. So now the butt of the club's pointing over to the target. If you release the wrist early, then you'd see that the butt of the club's pointing way left, and then the club head got thrown out. So the club head is reacting to the angle of the grip. So there, under, through there, maintaining that angle all the way through.